Hello everyone, this is the psychic prediction video for May. That's right, May coming up here. It is currently April 27th as of recording this video. So for May, I'm going to be talking about the geopolitics, kind of what's going on behind the curtain a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm seeing more war coming up here. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to mention a little bit about ETs even, and the general energy of the month. What's good to do this month? What's bad to do this month? Things of that nature. So the first thing that was coming up for me when I was meditating and asking for visions upon what's going to be happening for May coming up here, the first thing that I saw was explosions and things burning. It didn't look very good. So it does look like war. I was getting the sense that there's an escalation of some sort. I wasn't sure exactly where this was at first, but I was seeing visions of missiles being shot from the ground. And I was getting the feeling that this is an escalation. It could be more than one place, but it does feel like Ukraine is most likely where this would be taking place. However, I was also getting the sense coming through about there being another attack on Russia. Again, this happened last month. I did predict it. Actually, I said that there was going to be Ukraine was going to go into Russia, break through the barriers, and attack them in their own country. There was a bunch of explosions that took place. Where was that at? I can't remember. I'll get to that later on in the video more. It's somewhere in my notes for this video, but either way, that did happen, and I am seeing it happening again for May, unfortunately. Joe Biden showed up at that point for some reason. I was just seeing Joe Biden's face, and I just was getting the sense that this is going to have something to do with the plans that he put into motion before he left office. And there may be some mention of him in the news again around this scenario and this situation. So Zelensky was showing up as being not very upbeat. It didn't look like a very good month for him, unfortunately. A couple months ago or so, I said that Zelensky would be slowly becoming less relevant in the world, and that was like the month right before the whole argument in the White House took place, where Trump kind of started pushing Zelensky under the rug and kind of not really cooperating with him too well. So that was kind of the beginning of this, but I do see that this month of May is kind of like the next stage of that. The first stage was to get in the fight and kind of dismiss him and make him feel like he's not that important, at least to the U.S. that is. And this seems to be the next phase where Zelensky is starting to see like, yes, he is putting a lot into fighting Russia, and that does seem to be taking place this month, but the bigger picture is kind of coming down on him, and it's appearing more like he is kind of coming to terms with things more and more, and he is basically losing his relevancy in the world. And I did say like a couple months ago or so that he may eventually be gone by the end of this year, or probably sooner. I don't know exactly how long, but that's just the sense that I get, that his time is numbered. So that was Belgorod, where I was talking about earlier. Ukraine broke over the border of Russia and like blew up some giant section of Belgorod, Russia, and Ukraine soldiers entered into Russia. as I predicted last month, and I do see basically that scenario happening again. Although not necessarily Ukrainian soldiers on the ground, but I do see lots of explosions going on, and it doesn't look very good for either side. As I've said in the past, I don't really see Putin being too interested in peace talks, and like everyone just assumes that. Well, I mean, I guess Trump and a lot of people in the news just assume that Putin's gonna be able to be talked into a peace deal, but I just from the very beginning I was saying I don't really see that being the case. I was seeing him turning his back and walking away, not necessarily literally, but symbolically. That was the image that I was seeing. Sometimes it's more symbolic than literal, but that's how it was coming through for me. And it just I don't, you know, we are seeing that playing out right now, and I continue to see that being the case playing out for May at least. For Donald Trump, when I tuned into him, I was seeing him for the month of May, and this is not like a critique of his character. This is just what I'm sensing for him around the month of May. People attack me all the time and say I'm anti-Trump or pro-Trump or whatever it is that they think I am, but it's really just me saying what I'm seeing for them for the month. If it's positive, then I'm pro. If I see something bad, then I'm negative, and it's just like, no, I'm just seeing what I'm seeing. Like, it's really just that simple. So, anyways, what I'm seeing for Donald Trump is for the month of May, him having his head high in the clouds. So it's kind of like there's a little bit of this arrogance coming back again. He's making a lot of plans with other countries. It was almost like I kept seeing this. Sorry, I kept seeing this vision of him like throwing frisbees or throwing something like playing a game almost, but throwing these things symbolically to other countries and then like throwing it back, and it was just kind of representing him really trying to integrate, which is what I said would happen about how Trump comes into office. Everybody thinks he's going to be focused on the U.S., but he's really more so focused on other countries and geopolitics, and that's exactly what we've been seeing happening, as I predicted back in before 2025 started. But a lot of these plans, even though he's talking to these people, making a lot of plans, I don't see him getting what he wants. I know I said that last month, probably the month before, but again, I'm seeing that again showing up for next month. Last month I said that his arrogance was diminishing and he was kind of coming to terms with something. And we did see that play out with the tariffs, where he put really high tariffs on a whole bunch of countries, and then like a couple days later he took it back and decided to make deals with people instead and kind of compromise on his initial plans. I had said that he was going to walk back on some of his plans that he made before he became president, which was the tariffs to be really high, but he's kind of going back on that a little bit and trying to reanalyze his plans. That's what I was getting about his a little bit of humbleness coming through for last month. Next month, I don't see that being the case. I see the arrogance coming back, despite him getting a lot of flack in the news about the economy and everything going on, which I do see continuing and maybe even getting worse in May, actually. So when I tuned into China, or sorry, I wasn't tuning into China. When I was just tuning into what's going to happen, China showed up. And I was getting the sense that this is not going according to plan for Trump. This is not what he wants. I do see China gaining power. I think I said that last month too. That was actually on my Patreon page, where I said that China was going to be that China was going to be hurt the most out of all the tariffs, and this was before he decided to undo the level of tariffs for every country but China. This is right before that happened, and I said that China would be hurt the most, but that there would be some sort of rebellion, and China would actually end up networking with other countries. Actually, last month I also believe that I said that the BRICS countries, which includes China, would be strengthening through networking together, and I do believe that this is because of what we have seen happening with the tariffs, where now China is becoming best friends with all the U.S. allies and kind of integrating more into that network because they're all kind of over the tariff situation. So I did talk about that more in detail on my Patreon too, where I talked about the future of the trade situation, the future of the tariffs, but bigger than that also, just what I've been seeing in general since before Donald Trump was even in office. I've been seeing that trade around the world gets really complicated. And I think I discussed this last month, where people kind of become more self-reliant and people go back to more of an agricultural based society. You can go back and watch last month's video if you want to hear more about that, or join my Patreon too, where I talk about that, as well as some interesting things that came up for me about Doge and the efficiency of government, that whole idea, and how that is linked to the secret space program, because I see some money going to some interesting areas that are not publicly known. So if you want to hear more about that, you can go to my Patreon page, but I basically told you the gist of it right now. But yeah, that's a thing. So I'm going to move on here. But you can join my Patreon page for free. And if you want the membership, there is also a 7-day free trial for the membership, which is very easy to cancel before you get charged. Okay, moving on here. So Trump, as I discussed, Trump has paused the tariffs on all the countries except for China. I saw him backing down. Sorry, I'm just reading through my notes because I write notes so that I know where I'm at in my video. BRICS countries are growing stronger as predicted. China is preventing other countries from exporting to the U.S. by threatening to sanction countries that have exports going to the U.S. So that's pretty big. China is really basically like, we're going to punish you now. We're going to do what the U.S. is trying to do to everyone else. We're going to punish you if you work with the U.S. So I think that is kind of backfiring on Trump a little bit. So I don't see Trump getting what he wants out of China. This continues to backfire on him into May and probably the next 2-3 months or so, like something around there. And then it seems like the second half of the year, things kind of start to get a little better, at least. I do want to mention there's this whole concept of Donald Trump doing 5D chess. And all of this was all part of the plan. I really don't see that being the case. I see instead that, he put these tariffs up really high because, maybe he was going to go down a little bit, but I don't see this being some ultimate plan he had planned out to cause China to do a certain thing so that he would be like, well, screw China, and end up doing that and having an excuse to do it, like this 5D chess game theory. And by the way, 5D chess doesn't mean fifth dimensional chess. I know that's what I thought when I first heard it, was like, wow, the mainstream news is calling it 5D chess, like fifth dimensional chess. since when did the mainstream news become so spiritual? But no, 5D chess is actually a type of chess game. You can actually play people online 5D chess. It's not fifth dimensional in the spiritual context. It's more like there's just a bunch of different chess games you're playing all at once. That's all it is. But anyways, I don't see, I was really trying to tune into this month to see like something to say. There doesn't really seem to be too much in the geopolitics. I mean, besides for the extreme explosions and war, things I've already been mentioning. Except China becomes a bigger threat, and this seems to be a big deal. I've been saying this for a while now that China is going to become stronger and stronger, but not as a military threat to the U.S. I don't see them attacking the U.S., just to be clear. But I do see them being more of a economic force to hopefully not reckon with too much. But as I've said since before 2025, I've been saying that this year is not going to be the year of a war, physical like boots on the ground World War III type scenario. So many people have been predicting that, but I've been saying the whole way through this is going to be an economic war, not a hot war, not with actual, not involving all major, most powerful countries all battling each other in a world war. Yes, there are wars going on, but that's not a world war until the U.S. is directly bombing people. Not indirectly through other countries, but directly. I don't consider it World War III until that happens. I don't see that happening. I do see it as an economic war, and that is how China is winning. It's hard to say who's really winning or losing. It's not that black and white, but China is definitely increasing a lot of power, is the sense that I get, especially for this month coming up, being May next month. So again, Donald Trump is on his high horse trying to negotiate with other countries. It's not really working out. I was getting the sense of France coming through. I think it was like the Eiffel Tower is the image that I was seeing. And the word France just came to my mind, so I was like, this is something to do with France. And I'm getting the sense that there's something about that doesn't vibe well with Trump, and it's going to be in the news. On some level, this kind of has been going on, and I have been talking about how there's going to be, or there already was, these ET groups. I'm going to go there and talk about ETs, but yes, there were these ET groups or this new ET group, I should say, that has been influencing the Earth and in contact with people on Earth and having a major influence on the European governments. France, right after I had said that for one of my previous monthly prediction videos, like a couple of weeks later or so, there was the incident where Donald Trump was invited to I can't even remember who it was. Someone really important from the UK. I think it was like the king or something. I don't even remember, but whatever. You can comment below and remind me what it was. But whatever it was someone really important, like Prince Philip or something like that. And it was through the someone from France. I don't remember the details, but it was a big deal, and it coincided with these ETs coming down that I predicted would be happening within the European countries around that time. And it's not like they're going to just cause world peace or anything like that, but they are pushing for that in a way, but also it's very slow, and it's going to be a more of like a cultural shift that takes a while because a cultural shift doesn't happen overnight. But I do see that happening where there's some corruption behind the European governments. France was showing up in particular for May. Unfortunately, I don't see Donald Trump working with this ET movement, this one in particular. I know there's a lot of people who will say, Donald Trump is here to work with the ETs to save us, etc., etc., and a lot of people who say that it's all a scam and it's the complete opposite. Um, I'm just gonna say what I see, and if it doesn't fit your narrative, I am sorry. But regardless, what I'm seeing is that Donald Trump, as I've said before, he's kind of destroying some corruption, but he's also defending other corruption. Um, I'll just say APAC. Um, you can look that up if you don't know what it is. AIPAC. So, as I've said in the past, Donald Trump's sole contract is to stir the pot, destroying the old ways, which will destroy a lot of corruption, but it will be in a destructive way. But also, he will destroy his own ways, and he's not really aware of it, but he will be destroying the source of his own corruption on accident. And this is kind of more of a spiritual thing that's happening, something that his awareness, his consciousness is not. He's not conscious, so he's not aware of it. But on a spiritual level, he is, but not in his present lifetime consciousness. So, as I've said many times before, Donald Trump is fighting parts of the deep state through working with other parts of the deep state, because it's not all just one big cohesive organization. There's bits and pieces, and they're all kind of battling each other. And so he's kind of, sided with some of them. He's definitely sided more with the what's kind of being labeled as the technocratic movement. It's the best I can describe it, but basically it involves a lot of surveillance and technology and tech corporations basically taking over. So I do see that being kind of what he's supporting, but also what he is unconsciously, unknowingly going to also destroy in the end without realizing it, because that's kind of just his nature. And this isn't something about whether he's good or bad. It's not really about that. It's more just kind of like something that's just destined to be. So it's not a judgment of character. So, as I predicted, there were earthquakes last month. Last month I said Indonesia. I was seeing an earthquake in Indonesia, and lots of psychics make predictions for earthquakes, and they're like, there's going to be an earthquake sometime in the next couple years in this area, and it's like, well, yeah, there probably will be, but I never make earthquake predictions, but I did last month, and I said it would be in Indonesia and possibly Japan. So it wasn't exactly Indonesia, but it was, where was it? It was, I believe, Bangkok or something like that. It was right around Indonesia. I can't remember anything today. But regardless, that happened like 2 days after I made that prediction, right around Indonesia. And then a week or so later, there was also another earthquake in Japan. So it hit both the places that I said, around Indonesia and then Japan, in the same month. So Japan, it hit April 2nd. And there was a 6.2 magnitude earthquake. There was a news headliner, Japan earthquake breaking, 6.2 magnitude quake hits Japan days after deadly Myanmar earthquake. That's where it was, Myanmar. Scares of tsunamis were in the news and people were freaking out. And I heard that even some corporate some corporations were even moving out of Japan due to fears of future tsunamis. So anyways, if you've watched to this point, give this video a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And leave a comment below. That helps the algorithm as well. I always appreciate that as well. And if you have not subscribed, you can always subscribe for psychic predictions every month before the month. I've been doing this for like 5 years now, 4 years. I have a lot of monthly prediction videos. You can always go back and check those out too to see how I did if you want. Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, the Bitcoin I'm seeing coming down overall. I've been saying that for a while now. I'm kind of a broken record, but that's the sense that I'm getting. It could go down as low as 60 to 70K is the sense that I was getting. No guarantees on that, but it seems like that's likely. It could go even lower in after May in June, possibly to 50K. I've been seeing that number for a long time, that it may get to that number. We'll see, maybe in June it might get to that number, 50K. That would be a pretty big drop, but it is looking very volatile for Bitcoin, at least for the next couple months or so. I do see a very large volatile swing coming up in June. And after June, it seems that Bitcoin will be moving a little bit more out of the volatility and starting to stabilize a little bit in a positive direction, going up, in other words. But August, maybe the end of August or so, maybe possibly the start of September, but I feel like it's more the end of August. There seems like there's a high probability of a flash crash where it just tanks, but then comes right back up real quick. And that seems to be basically the end of this crazy volatility, is around in August, maybe early September. And from there, it seems to do pretty good for the rest of the year. We will probably see new highs by the end of the year, is what I am expecting. Of course, if you want to see more of my in-depth, up-to-date, like, not necessarily weekly, but I do it at least a couple times, if not 4 times every month on my Patreon page. I do more in-depth price analysis based on what I see through my visions. So the stock market overall, that would be like the S&P 500, or just the stock market in general. It seems like, last month I said sideways volatility, and then it started off just going straight down. But then it came back up, and it's kind of going like this. So it has been sideways volatility after all. For May, I see this pattern continuing. Just back and forth volatility. Could go down a bunch, go back up, that type of thing. So when I tuned into what people need to know, when I asked that, I got the sense that a lot of people watching these videos may actually be struggling financially in the month of May, and following that for the next couple months, unfortunately. But I do get the sense that things will be getting better in the second half of 2025. And, as I've been saying since before 2025 started, I did my 2025 psychic prediction video where I said that Donald Trump would be challenging, would have challenges, I should say, and the economy would be challenging for the first half of the year, but the second half it gets better. So far, that seems to be what's going on for 2025, and I continue to see that being the case. First half challenging, second half better, economically speaking, that is. Of course, everyone is going to have their own personal experience, and so I don't want to program anyone to take this on, because you don't have to be part of this. You can have your own personal experience outside of what the collective is going through. Just a reminder. So everything seems to be pretty confusing for May coming up here, and it's as if we're kind of in between stages. I was getting this sense of like the feeling of like an ache in the heart, as if waiting for answers to come that aren't coming, and it's just like this aching and like just something elongating out that you don't want to elongate out. Unfortunately, that's the feeling I was getting about May. Um, I do get the sense that persevering through this month will be important to make sure that you are able to just continue through it. But don't rely on, don't expect answers necessarily to your life situations. This is just the general energy of the planet. Um, but take some time out for your other needs besides the needs that you're worried about. Take some time out for the other needs and enjoy life a little bit too. But also don't give up either. So I always ask, what is the month good for? What came through was expressing yourself from the heart, meditating on the heart, and being creative, really. That's what it was really about. Um, Moving on from the situations of the world, which can be kind of stifling to your creativity, and just allowing yourself to be creative regardless of what is going on around you. Also, it's a great month for creating your own world and your own personal goals separate from what feels important by other standards. In other words, the things that you're supposed to be doing, the things that you're worried about getting done, especially business or financial or whatever it may be, or even just goals that you feel like you need to do. Keep doing them, but don't obsess over them, and create your own world outside of that. Like there's all this, like there's like a highway, all this chaos going on. You can step to the side and have a little space to the side of that, to your own personal little bubble, even if it's not relevant to what's quote important. It's important to you, and you can make it important in your life for yourself and give it meaning. That's what was coming through. What was bad for the month was, and this will sound kind of weird because I always preach to feel into things to kind of get the vibe of something. That's kind of, especially like in my psychic meditation classes and whatnot, I'm teaching people to feel into things and whatnot. But I got that it was bad to feel into things too much in May, because there's so much of this crazy stressful energy. I talked about it a while ago, being related to the plane crashes and also traffic crashes. I actually have a sister who recently got in a car wreck and totaled her car. There's a lot of car crashes recently, and it's all related to this energy shift that I've been talking about. You can go back and watch my previous videos where I talk about the ETs coming to Earth and influencing the frequency of the planet, and this is causing us to grow spiritually, changing our frequency. But along with change comes complication and the need to adjust to that, which is challenging and disorienting to our consciousness. And so a lot of that was playing into these accidents happening around the world, and also to a lot of the just strange shifts and coincidences that are taking place on the planet a lot lately. This is due to the shifting of the frequency, the shifting of the energy. Certain things are no longer able to exist at a new frequency, and other things are going to change to adjust to that frequency. What was I saying? So anyways, so with all of this energy shifting, what I've said in the past is that this is changing from being more like motor function and like causing accidents and things like that, more to the energy of decisions being challenging and people making bad decisions, bad calls. So this is also influencing the emotions. That's what I was getting for the month of May, that the emotions are really getting triggered by all of this. And so your emotions can get the best of you in the month of May. So it's a bad idea, in a sense, to feel too much into things without a sense of objectivity. So you have to be able to, like, you can still feel something out, but you want to be able to kind of separate from that and be able to view it objectively. Otherwise, it can just pull you down a hole that you don't want to go down. So the advice, when I asked for the advice for May, I got focus on yourself and building your own inner world, as I was discussing earlier. Very important for psychological health, getting through the month. Sounds like kind of a challenging month. Create your own value outside of what others value. It's okay to live in your own world a little bit this month. There will be a lot of chaotic, crazy energy to this month. It may feel like things are not paying off, but it's important to be consistent because consistency will lead to a reward eventually. Of course, every situation is going to be a little bit different. This is just the overall general energy coming through. Keep in mind that I do have a Patreon. I've had a lot of interesting things that I've been posting on Patreon lately. I will explain a little bit of what those are, but you can join Patreon for free without a trial, just for free in general, and get some free posts. There's also the 7-day free trial to get the members version of my Patreon, and you have to cancel before 7 days, or else you will get charged, which is fine if you want to get charged. It's pretty cheap. And you will get a full month of access to all of my blind readings, hundreds of different people I've done blind readings on, meaning I have a 6-digit number. I don't know who it is that I'm reading. I just have a 6-digit number. This is remote viewing blind protocol. And I do a reading on that number, and then when I'm done with the reading, I look up what was associated with that number. I see who the person was, and then I know who I did the reading on at that point in time. I do some research, and then I do some more reading, which is no longer a blind reading, but regardless, I still get more information that way and confirm more information based on my research and the blind reading to come to more of a conclusive understanding of what's going on with these people. And I do this with hundreds of people that are important, influential people on the planet, mostly politicians and people making important claims or helping people understand the truth. But anyways, if you join with the free 7-day trial, please don't cancel it right away because you will lose access to the search bar, and therefore you will not be able to use it as basically an encyclopedia, because it's pretty much a psychic reading encyclopedia. And you just type in whatever you want in the search bar, and like lots of results will show up. Type in different people's names, people of interest. Hopefully I've done a reading on them. They'll show up. If they haven't, if they don't, then you can request that I do a reading on that name, and I'll add it to my list. But regardless, there's a lot of interesting things coming up about the technocratic agenda behind Trump that I've been posting on my Patreon, as well as recently they call it WEF now, but the World Economic Forum, I feel, is probably more proper, but regardless, magic rituals involved with the World Economic Forum and the future influence on Earth. That was something that came up in a reading on my Patreon page, so be sure to check that out if you want. Also, I've been doing, I already have done a bunch of, actually accidentally did 3, maybe 4, I think at least 3 readings on the same person doing the blind reading protocol, because somehow I just didn't get that number out of my list, and over time I kept coming to that number and doing another reading on the same person without realizing I've done the reading on the same person multiple times. But anyways, it was kind of cool because I got to see it from different angles every time I did the same blind reading on the same person. And so I did that with the guy, the man behind the Georgia Guidestones. And so there's a lot of interesting information there about that. It's not as negative as you may think. It's interesting. I'll put it that way. You can join my Patreon and find out for free. Also, China, their future, gone over that. Also, Doge and their connection to the secret space program, which was unexpected. Of course, Bitcoin, as I've talked about, I do updates on that throughout the month, and hundreds of crypto coins, where I've done many crypto coins. I'm surprised that there's still so many crypto coins to do readings on, because I've done so many coins I've never even heard of. But there's a lot of coins out there. So you can join my Patreon. Also, readings. I do psychic readings one-on-one, or I also do written readings for $50 or $55 for a written reading. You can find out more about that at my website, psychictide.com. And I've been talking long enough. Thank you for watching this video. You can give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, comment below. All that stuff helps me out. Thank you very much, and have a great day.